NBA playoffs here and what that pertains to the University of Arizona, because we're not ASU and we always have a lot of guys in the NBA playoffs. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, the NBA playoffs are here. I love the NBA. I know some people out there don't like the NBA, but you know what? That's their loss right there, because the NBA is an awesome product. All right, now we're going to talk about Arizona players in the NBA playoffs, what they're doing, what we should expect, and all of that. First and foremost, we got to talk about the great Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is a potential now to go down as well. He already is. I mean, let's talk about it. If you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of NBA coaches, Steve Kerr is going to be on there, and it's fairly simple. Why? Because he's got 4 championships, and he's been a guy that he's done it with different rosters. Keep in mind, when he came in, and everybody looks at and says, "Oh, well, you know, there's a lot of talent on that those Warriors teams." They didn't win anything with Mark Jackson, so you got to remember that. They didn't win anything with Mark Jackson. That's something certainly to keep in mind. But everybody thought that their window was closed after Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn. Again, keep in mind, people are like, "Well, you know what? There's a lot of injuries in place. Those guys are getting older." And then Steve Kerr said, "No," he said, "I will turn back the clock right here." And they won the championship this past year, and I would imagine that was probably their most gratifying one. I don't have any inside information on that, but I would certainly imagine that that is the case. Now, when it comes to when it comes to Steve Kerr this year, it's been a little bit of a different slog, that's for sure. I think you can certainly make the case that Arizona. How do we put this? Golden State has had an up and down season. I think more of an up and down season than I think a lot of people thought. But they're healthy now. It looks like Andrew Wiggins is back. And not only does it look like Andrew Wiggins is back, it looks like they are going to, everybody's firing on all cylinders right now. Klay Thompson just, I believe it was 300 threes he just finished, making himself one of 3 or 4 players in NBA history to do that. So from an offensive perspective, they look very good. Now, where else are we at? You got a lot of other guys then. So, but think about it this way. What would a title mean for Steve Kerr then? If Steve Kerr were to get another title, that would place him in a logjam tie for second behind Phil Jackson for the most titles ever. Greg Popovich has 5. Pat Riley has 5. Steve Kerr would have 5 right there. But Steve Kerr also is showing no signs of slowing up, though. That's where it gets kind of interesting right there. Steve Kerr isn't really showing any signs of slowing up. So that's something that you got to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to the Cats, might be thinking to yourself, all right, so what else? What do the Warriors need to do? They need Andrew Wiggins. They need Andrew Wiggins to be able to be that guy. And I think if Andrew Wiggins can be that guy, that defensive guy that they have, I think the Warriors can beat absolutely anybody. And I do think, and I mean that. Now might say to yourself, well, Wiggins hasn't been playing. Correct. Wiggins has not been playing. And that I think is I think that is a little bit of the concern, is that Andrew Wiggins hasn't been playing. But if assuming Wiggins is ready to go, you have Steph Curry, obviously, at the top of his game. Klay Thompson offensively is back at the top of his game. Jordan Poole is playing, obviously, very well. You got Draymond in there. Then you got Jonathan Kuminga working his way in there. Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney. They can beat anybody. They are that team. They can beat anybody on a given day. They can beat anybody in a series. You don't want to play the Warriors right now. Now, I didn't mention the name Andre Iguodala. This is going to be Andre's last season. Andre is more, his role is kind of like the backup Peaks was this year for the U of A, and that his role is more behind the scenes. And I think that's where, that's where it gets kind of interesting here for the U of A. Now, I keep saying U of A because that's a Freudian slip right there. Now, let's talk a little bit about where Arizona is with regards to, other guys in the league. Then you got an Aaron Gordon. Now, Aaron Gordon to me was always an interesting player. Aaron Gordon to me is a player who he's always going to be limited offensively. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's going to be limited offensively, but he's also a very, very, very good defender. He was the epitome of a guy that was easy to project coming out of college because worst case scenario, he's kind of a meh offensive player, but defensively, he's going to be very, very, very good. And that's kind of where it is with Aaron Gordon. But you could make the case that he has been Denver's second best player this season. You could easily make that case that he has been Denver's best player, and Denver's got the best record in the West. So take that for what it's worth right there. But Aaron Gordon is going, there are going to be a lot of eyes on Aaron Gordon these playoffs. And excuse me, there are going to be a lot of eyes on him these playoffs. And it's going to be fascinating to see what he can do. But again, get you 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, something like that. Guard the other team's best perimeter player, and you're going to generally be all right with that. Aaron Gordon, a leader of men out there for the Denver Nuggets. Now, look at some of the other players out there for the U of A that are just kind of wrapping up this season. Some guys that are in the playoffs we talked about, some guys that aren't in the playoffs that we're going to talk about. We got to talk about Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin is going to be a guy who is, let's be honest here. I think Benedict Mathurin could maybe be the best player that's ever come through the U of A. Now, I've always felt that the best player, just from a talent perspective, from an apex perspective, was Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas was one of the 5-10 best players in the NBA at his peak. Nobody else has ever reached that zenith. But Ben Mathurin, when you watch Ben Mathurin has the feel of a guy who is, I think, honestly, Ben Mathurin has the feel of a guy who could be a player who's going to make that jump, and it wouldn't surprise me. And I know he didn't start this year. I totally know that. I know that he didn't start, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's an all-star next year. There, I said it. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he's an all-star next year. I think he's got that type of ability, that type of game to him right there. He's very, very good. And again, by all-star, I think he averaged 16.7 this year. I think that he could average about, let's see here, 21, 22 per game next year. He's going to get more minutes. I would imagine he's going to start next to Tyrese Halliburton. That's what you want right there. But Ben Mathurin is going to be a monster. And Ben Mathurin already came in surprising people, and I think he's going to continue to surprise people out there. Ben Mathurin, though, lots of really good stuff. And then sticking on the Indiana Pacers theme right here, TJ McConnell. A lot of people ask, well, why doesn't TJ start? He puts up numbers, but you've also got to remember, too, that a lot of times with guys that put up numbers, it's because they're they're better in spots because if they have to play 40 minutes a game, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. They're going to be exposed in certain ways. Not saying that's TJ, not saying that's not TJ. But either way, TJ, when he plays, TJ gets you minutes. TJ gets you minutes. Now, with TJ, I think what's exciting about him, though, is that he's always going to be around. He'll do whatever you need him to do. And you know what? That's why he's going to be in the league for 12 years. And that's why he has been one of those guys that you're like, wow, all right, I didn't see that one coming. I did not see TJ McConnell being this. That is on me. That is not on TJ McConnell right there. Now, looking at some other dudes then that have some interesting things. Lauri Markkanen. I believe Lauri had one of the 3 or 4 best seasons in U of A basketball history in the NBA. Now, granted, you got to take it with a grain of salt because you are in this NBA era where, you know, it's different, to put it mildly. You've got teams that are putting up 55 points in a quarter. Get all that, but he did still drop 25, 7, and 6 on a team, and his shooting splits were awesome, 50, almost 50, 40, 90. So it wasn't like he was shooting Russell Westbrook 39% numbers. He was pretty efficient in the process. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. I think where it becomes fascinating for him is what is that next level? Can he be the frontline player on a playoff team? Can he be the frontline player on a team that is looking to go far in the NBA playoffs? I don't know that. But I think he's also put himself in the position where you can tell for a fact that he can be one of those guys that can be a secondary guy in that regard. And that's why what he's been able to do has been absolutely magical right there. Big tip of the cap to him and what he's been able to do. Now, going back to ex-Wildcats in the NBA playoffs, let's talk about DeAndre Ayton. All right, DeAndre Ayton's going to be the epitome of a guy that I would imagine he'll be somewhere else next season, maybe the year after. You just want more out of DA. DA is very, very good. Obviously, 18 points, 9 rebounds, basically pencil him in right there. But you never really watch DA and say that that's a total difference maker out there. And honestly, that's what I was hoping that he was going to be when he was drafted. I thought that the guy, and again, I was wrong, I thought the guy had some David Robinson potential to him. I thought that he could be 23 and 11, something like that. He's just not that dude. You watch him, the motor runs hot and cold. That's something that can't really happen when you're in the NBA. And that's just more of a reflection, I think, on maybe his priorities. Again, he's a good dude. I don't think anybody is doubting that DeAndre Ayton's an awesome guy. You never hear anything bad about him whatsoever. Seems like a good family man. So again, this is nothing personal right here. But when you watch him, there's a lot of times where you just kind of wonder how engaged really is he right there. And that's something that you can't really put a price value on. It just kind of is what it is at that point. Would love to see DA kind of become, I guess, a little bit more, what's the term? I just guess passionate for what he wants to do out there. But again, you know what? There's nothing wrong also with being 18-9. And again, when you're 18-9, you're still going to be in the league for a long time. And not only are you going to be in the league for a long time, you're going to be in the you're going to be able to, make a lot of money. He's already making generational money right there, and that's good on DeAndre Ayton right there. Proud of DeAndre Ayton, but I also don't think that he's going to be that guy that necessarily is going to warrant the first pick of the draft, especially when you already got dudes like Luka Doncic. Heck, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Jaren Jackson, players like that in there. Now you could say, Mike Luke, didn't you like Marvin Bagley? I did like Marvin Bagley. I was wrong. It's one of my big-time, all-time losing his takes right there. I do apologize to the good people out there. We're going to talk a little bit more about DeAndre Ayton, though, and about where some of the areas that I was wrong. But first, FanDuel. All right. FanDuel.com/locked-on. All right. FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, here's the great thing. A lot of people are saying, where can I bet, what I want to do with and not have to worry about my money and be able to get fun props in the process, that's where you hop on to FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. Great stuff going on right there. And the cool thing about it, too, at FanDuel is that you've got all kinds, like I said, you got props, you got in games, you got out of games, you name it, they got it. Check it out, FanDuel.com. And all right, we're going to take a quick right back with you. We're going to talk a little bit more about DeAndre Ayton. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now time to talk some more DeAndre Ayton right here. Now, where is he going to be next season or the season after that? I don't know. It's interesting because he's being paid a lot of money. The Suns are kind of playing games with him. I think he's kind of playing games with the Suns a little bit, but, didn't really offer him anything. And then the second that the Pacers offered him the 4-year $133, the Suns matched it. So they clearly value what DA can bring to the table. But I think it was also indicative as well that you didn't really have a group of guys or however you want to put it. You didn't really have that where, Arizona was, where DeAndre Ayton was also pursued in a big way. Now, could say to yourself that reason he wasn't pursued in a big way is because, you didn't have everybody thought the Suns were going to get him. But what I will say this, and where I would dispel a little bit of that, to be quite frank with you, is I would also say that you also, I think, have to wonder, though, just how much other teams value him. Look at this. The Nets preferred, and it worked out for him, the Nets preferred to have Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges in that trade. And you know what? That's worked out for them. That's made a lot of sense for them. I don't think that they have any doubts that they made the right decision right there. So that's something that you got to look at as well. And you got to wonder a little bit, what exactly is the deal right there. But again, good player, always going to be a little bit limited, I think, just because of internal reasons right there. All right. Now, looking at some of the other guys that are in the periphery, Gabe York. Gabe is back in the NBA. Well, Gabe York is good for the NBA. The NBA is good for Gabe York is good for the the Indiana Pacers. Love watching Gabe. Great thing about Gabe is that, you know what? He just kept grinding. He kept playing. He kept doing everything that you would expect out of Gabe York. And guess what? It worked. So check it out. Gabe York, good stuff right there. Glad he's back in the league. Hopefully he can hang on for a little bit. But either way, he's going to be able to tell his grandkids that I played in the NBA. And how cool is that? All right, now let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's chat a little bit about just what this playoffs, though, would mean. Because, again, we're going to kind of go week by week with this. But if Steve Kerr got a 5th title, you start wondering where exactly he is in the all-time pantheon of coaches, because he would have done it spanning quite a while. And with aging teams, new role players in there, etc., what would that mean at that point, too? You're going to be a team that is, you're going to be a team that is always going to be recognized as a dynasty. At what level, who knows? But he would have also done it, and it also would really, really improve Steph. I mean, not that Steph Curry needs an improved legacy, but I think if Steph Curry were to win another title, it's impossible not to put him in the top 10 players of all time, because he would literally check off every box. What he did last year was awesome. Steve Kerr as well. This is going to be a fun team. Like I said, this is going to be a fun NBA playoffs to watch, and we're going to be talking about it from an Arizona perspective all throughout the playoffs. All right, everybody out there, you have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm your host, Mike Luke. You've been listening to Locked On Wildcats, and we will talk with you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.